back to my channel. So today I am doing a part 2 to the video where, the flanker is better than the original. I really liked doing the first part, and I think even in that video I mentioned that I had enough fragrances that I pulled out or that I was looking at where I could make a part 2. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 actually. Interestingly enough, I have 6 fragrances where I think the flanker is better. As I said in that one, there are ones where there's more than one flanker, there's ones where there aren't, and in every one of them, again, except for one, I own the original as well, like I did last time. So I'm gonna start with the one that I don't actually own the original. But if you haven't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. And we're about to get started. I will link everything in the description box below, as always. So the first one, and the only one that I don't own the original, I have smelled it, and I smelled it several years ago, so I don't have a good enough reference on exactly what the difference was, but I can definitely say the flanker is infinitely better, and I think it seems to be kind of almost unanimous on how people feel about it. So this is the fragrance. The original is obviously Kenzo World, and this is the flanker that I'm talking about, which is Kenzo World Power. I really didn't like Kenzo World. From what I can remember, it smelled a lot more unique to this, maybe, but it just smelled off. It was kind of off-putting as well, and to the point where I was like, oh, I obviously don't, I'm not into it. I'm not going to even go there in that direction. And for whatever reason, I took a chance because I saw that oh my God, I love this flanker. I saw that this was on sale for a really good price, incredibly good price in Portugal, the last time I was there. And I was like, you know what? Even if you end up hating it as much as the original, it's such a good price, just go for it, right? And I gave in, and the descriptions and the notes on this one seemed better. So I went for it, and I love this flanker. I will at some point smell the original to see if, for whatever reason, my taste has maybe changed, but I honestly doubt it. This scent is just so sweet, and okay, we're gonna be spraying a lot of things today, but it's such a sweet, tangy, salty floral that I just think it's to die for. I don't think this gets nearly enough hype. I should do a video. Let me know if you guys are interested. I always brainstorm while I'm filming and then forget my ideas. But if you're ever interested in a video of fragrances that don't get enough hype that should, I feel like my collection is a treasure trove of those. And you guys have mentioned how I talk about fragrances that aren't usually very hyped. And it kind of happens by accident because there are definitely people who talk about this, but this does not get the hype it deserves. I feel like if more people smelled it, they would agree that it kind of toes this balance of actually being really unique, because the tangy saltiness of this floral, I love a salty floral. Salt is so interesting and underused in fragrances, I think, and when used correctly and I think strategically with the right accords, I find it really intoxicating. And I know it's in Olympia, I get a saltiness in this. I feel like a salty floral is also where it kind of hits the nail on the head, rather than maybe a more typical sea salt, sea water, aquatic scent. But anyways, that's me. I love this. Infinitely better than the original, can confirm. The second one I want to talk about just very quickly before we move along is a half cheap shot or kind of fake out, but it is true, and that is simply Eau de Parfum Poudrée. This was another one where I was when I originally thought of pulling fragrances, I was like, wow, the flanker is better, because this is a case where I love the original. So it's very different to the Kenzo World situation. I love this. this was the reason I wanted the flanker. I need to stop. I need to stop spraying everything. But I really, really love this fragrance. And the reason I think the flanker is better is they went back to the table and corrected something that I think people were mentioning enough that, you know, it was noticeable. And they basically just made an intense version that smells exactly the same but has incredible lasting power when compared to the original. I still don't think this is like beast mode, which is, oh my god. You guys know, by the end of these videos, I smell like everything and I don't care. But I love this. I love that they kept it. This is probably the only case in which I am ecstatic that it smells exactly like the original, because I don't like when flankers do that. But in this case, that's exactly what you should do when you're making an intense version of a fragrance. Personally, and maybe not everyone will agree, and that's fine, I think it should smell exactly like the original. If you're making something that's like a noir version, or, you know, you name it something else, that it's just like a darker take on it, fine. Scent change up the composition, change up the base notes, you know, make it a little different. But the intense version, I think, should always be just a more intense version of the original fragrance to a T. This is exactly what it is. It is better than the original, and if I were to ever recommend this scent, which I do to a lot of people even in my personal life, I always tell them to get the flanker instead. Alright, so the next one actually is kind of a set or duo that I don't talk about very often at all, and this video is making me kind of discover it again. But it's Modern Muse, and this is obviously the original Eau de Parfum, and then I've got the Modern Muse Le Rouge, which is the flanker. This is one I'm going to spray just to remind myself as I talk about it. It's one where I would say, just because of virtue of the collection size that I have, I don't really reach for either. And, you know, it's true based on the fact that I had to rediscover it for this video. But because of this video, I've been wearing both kind of on each limb for a couple days now and doing like tests and everything, or tests before bed. And to me, it's kind of, it's very clear that the flanker is better. But I think it's better for a particular taste, and there is still a reason that I would recommend the original. Whereas, for example, Eau de Parfum Poudré, the Simply Eau de Parfum Poudré, it's so clear to me why everyone would love just the flanker, because the original just has such a minimal amount of lasting power, unless that's exactly what you're looking for. I think the original Modern Muse is a very classic Estee Lauder floral. And what I mean by that is, I think each house, more or less, or a lot of houses, have their own kind of identity or safe spot of where a floral will sit. And their Estee Lauder's florals are very mom scents. I feel like, to me, they're very Mother's Day appropriate. They're usually not too deep or spicy or dark or gourmand, and they're definitely not too like aquatic and murky. They kind of sit in a very realistic flower shop floral, and that's exactly what Modern Muse is. It's a very kind of like original smelling floral. And for that reason, I mean, if you're looking for something like that, if you're looking for a gift for someone and you know they like a floral, or you're just trying to make it a safe purchase, I think the original is a safer purchase than Modern Muse Le Rouge. However, I really prefer the Le Rouge flanker. I think it's immediately more perfumey rather than kind of like classic floral. It's got, to me, a little bit of a, not a lipstickiness by any means, but it's kind of got a floral that's warm in more of a lipsticky sense, rather than a floral like in a floral shop without being lipsticky. And I hope that makes sense to you. But if you've ever smelled very perfumed lipsticks, it smells like that sort of perfume. And I know I'm in the minority of people that like when my lip products are very scented. And I know it's probably not the best for you, but I don't care. I really like it. I do actually feel like I should wear this one more. There's also more of like a citrus element to it that I think isn't there. And so it's just more interesting. I think it's more risk taking, even though they're both pretty safe scents. So I would definitely go for the flanker over the original. Right. So the next one is one of those cases where there actually are 3 flankers. It's interesting. And I don't own the original. So the original is Armani Code, the woman's fragrance, obviously. And that is a fragrance I actually do like. I haven't smelled the women's fragrance Armani Code in, I think, years at this point. I'm kind of more familiar with the men's Armani Code, which I really do enjoy as well. But I think that is a line where each one of their flankers that I've tried and smelled, and I'm still waiting for a way to get a non-extortionate price satin, like Armani Code satin, because I love that one. But Armani Code Cashmere is probably my favorite of the 3. It's very root beer-esque. I still haven't done a root beer video. Or like a soda video. I need to do that. I love this one. I've loved it for a very long time, even before I owned it. And now, I mean, I don't know if you can see, but there is a decent amount dent until there. This is kind of like a quintessential example in my book of having a flanker that changes up enough from the original where it's interesting and definitely worth a purchase. You can sort of tell it's in that line, and so it's not ventured and it's, you know, completely out of the realm of what the original Armani Code is, but it's quite a bit different, and I think it's, you know, leagues and bounds better. Whoops, oh my god, I can't believe I caught that. Leaps and bounds better than the original. So if I were to keep purchasing one, it would be this one. To a lesser degree, but I actually do really like these as well. Kind of second place, I would go with Armani Code Absolu. I again picked this one up when I was traveling. This has got, I'm gonna spray this one. This has got a little bit, again, more of like it doesn't have the root beer vibes. It doesn't have that kind of almond root beer sort of vibe. This is a little bit fresher. It's a bit more floral, and it also has a little bit of the saltiness. I know this can be quite strong for some people. At least one of you, I think, I remember you saying it ended up being too jasmine-y or something. I love it. I think it's really, really underrated as one of the flankers. I think cashmere and satin definitely get a lot of hype as being great flankers for Armani Code. Rightly so. They're beautiful, but Absolu is a stunner. And then finally, kind of my least favorite of the flankers, but still, I prefer it to the original, Armani Code Luna. And let me pull this up. This is I think this is like the most spring summer out of all of them. It gets a little bit, the citrusiness in this almost goes to bitter. It doesn't, but it almost gets there. This is my warm weather Armani Code, because again, I think Armani Code Cashmere is just a little bit more suited to colder weather. I really like this one. Again, I think it doesn't get the hype that the other flankers usually do, but I wear this, I mean, personally, a lot more than I ever wear the original because I don't own it, and I've chosen to get this over the original. So definitely love that one. Then we move on to the second last one, I believe, which I do have the original, and this is probably the one that you guys, if you know me at all, have guessed I would talk about, and you'd be right. That is Scandal. The original Scandal is, by and large, the worst of the bunch. I'm still missing one more, I think, of the flankers, or maybe 2. Anyways, it's not that I absolutely loathe it. I just definitely wear this one the least. I think it's the least interesting. I think it's the least wearable, and it's got such a sour honey note that rubs me the wrong way. However, the flankers, especially So Scandal, which you guys know, or if you don't, you should, is spectacular. It is so grapey. Oh my God. Ugh, I love this fragrance. I love it so, so much. I think it's wonderful. It was in my grape video. It was in my 20 fragrances if I only had to pick 20 for my collection or whatever. Fantastic. Can't say enough good things. The only thing I will say about this flanker though, it really ventures very far from the original Scandal to the point where it doesn't smell anything like the original Scandal. So this probably could be one of those flankers where it was just a fragrance on its own because it's just grapey and not honeyed by anything. However, if you were going to get Scandal because you wanted a honey floral, this is Scandal à Paris, and I'll spray it on this side. This is the kind of quintessential Scandal scent of a honeyed floral that I would be down for. This I can understand hype being around. I'm missing Scandal by Night, which is the one I don't have. Let me know if there are any more that I'm missing. But I really like this one. There's also a kind of candied note in this that is not in the original, and there's no sour honey note. Ugh, I love it. Scandal à Paris, perfection. Scandal, what is it? So Scandal, wonderful. Original Scandal, not so much. All right, and the last one I'm going to talk about, this is the hardest one, and I really struggled putting it in this video because I mentioned in the first video I did that there are definitely fragrances where the original is better than the flanker, and that's why I did this series or two-part video, because I think it's maybe less common or more interesting when the flanker is better. And this is a case where they're so close. Like, it's really, I mean, more so than ever, up to taste. And even for me, it's up to taste. But I think the flanker, and only this flanker, has the edge. So I didn't even bring the others because the others would not compare. But anyways, the original fragrance that I'm talking about is Anjou des Mondes, the original Eau de Parfum. I really like this fragrance. I've mentioned before how it's like, it's my Gemini scent. Maybe I should do a Gemini video, just all about Gemini fragrances. But what I mean by that is fragrances that have like a very clear duality to them, where they smell kind of like two things simultaneously, and not like two different notes, but just two beautiful accords, or like two different fragrances kind of melded into one. I really get that in this, and I think it's like perfectly such an apt name because there is such a brightness to this and then like an interesting dark side. I think it's wonderful. I've loved it since I first smelled it, and very, very unique. Like for a designer house, I think Givenchy, whenever this came out, which is a while ago now, went out on a limb and did something a little more interesting, and I'm looking forward to designer houses doing that again and not being so safe and predictable with their creations. But the flanker that I think surpasses that for me is L'Ange Noir. This also is an eau de parfum. This is also a very unique scent, and it's also that kind of case where it doesn't smell anything like the original. Really, truly nothing. So this could have been its own scent, and it probably should have been its own scent, but they wanted to capitalize on the Anjou des Mondes range and name. But this is kind of my perfect almond fragrance because it smells so realistically of almond slivers and iris and powderiness. It's got a touch of Lipstick On by Maison Martin Margiela, but if I'm being really honest with myself, and I've said this before, smelling them side to side and, you know, putting aside how hard it is to find lipstick on now and, you know, the hype around it and everything, just scent alone, this is a better scent than Lipstick On. I said it, I'm saying it again, perhaps controversial, but I love this fragrance, and it's got this kind of, I don't know, intoxicating and yet not sweet, almost so, so nutty that it's like devoid of sweetness. I love it. I think it's spectacular. And for that reason, I think it draws me to it a lot more. I love wearing it in the summertime, which I never would have expected. But weirdly, wearing it when you're swimming or going in water, it lasts a long time even then. And it's just like amplified. I love it. So that is the last one for this video. Definitely let me know what you think about these fragrances, their flankers, how you feel about them, if there are any more that you're curious about. I don't think I have any more in my collection. I did my best to browse where I feel like the flanker is better. There are some where the original is better, but I don't have every flanker in the world. So let me know what you think in the comments. I love to hear from you guys. Check out the description box. Subscribe here, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye.